guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I'm back here in my hometown favorite parking spot because guess what? I have that one iconic Japanese sports car that gets a pretty big change. This is it. This is a 2023 Toyota GR Supra. This one though, the big change is a 6-speed manual transmission. But before we get into this 5th generation of that Supra, let's talk about what's going on here. I remember it wasn't that long ago, back in 2019 at the Detroit Auto Show, the Supra was unveiled all new with that design in conjunction with BMW. Since then, there's still debating going on whether this is truly a Supra. But one thing you can't deny is that Toyota kept to its word, saying that they were going to bring changes each and every year. Well, like I said, the big one for 2023 is not only the color, which is the stratospheric blue, but also the return of a 6-speed manual transmission specifically engineered for the Supra. So what I want to find out though is, instead of focusing about fake vents, instead of focusing on whether this is a real Supra, what I want to find out is there's a new car that's going to be coming that's redesigned. That's the new Mustang GT, the S650 Mustang GT. And it may not sound like a competitor to the Supra, but I think it may surprise you in the end, especially when we're looking at price point, performance, and everything in between. So what I want to find out is the GR Supra Manual good enough now to buy over that upcoming Mustang GT? Let's go ahead, let's dive in and find out. Right off the bat, the color. Stratospheric blue has gotta be one of my favorite colors on the new Supra. Another one I like that's also new for 2023 is See You Later Gray. Two great colors. Now at the front of the business, they do a great job when it comes to LED lighting. And that's the one thing, like if you look at the new Mustang GT coming out, it also has some really great LED lighting, but nobody could deny the headlight setup on the Supra. You got that multi-cube LED beam setup going on, everything blacked out, nice large LED daytime running lamp, which is also your turn signal. And like we've talked about before, there are plenty of fake vents on the front end of this vehicle, but you know what? Wait until you see the new Mustang GT. If you're going standard Mustang GT, there's some fake vents on the front end of that vehicle as well. Now, as we come across the nose, this is definitely the smaller size vehicle and definitely the sleeker vehicle out of the two. You know, it's one of those things I've kind of learned to live with, that this is the Supra. I'm glad that the car is still here, and I'm glad that they upped the ante by adding a manual transmission. But you got that nice large area in the center that's fully functional, and the way they work the lower lip really is nice because of how it blends in cleanly with the front fascia, but it also is going to give us that downforce with that splitter to stop air from going underneath the bottom of the vehicle. Now when you get up onto the hood, long slung nose. And I like the way it's really clean with not a lot of body lines on it. Remember, if you go Mustang GT, the one thing that you do get is a functional heat extractor. I wish upon a star, every time I go to bed, that they would have made those fake vents at the back end of the hood functional to do that task. Now, as we come around the bend, great news is, besides a manual transmission, besides a new color, we also get new colored wheels. So I love this gunmetal satin gray finish all the way around. It's a 19-inch wheel, and what's great about it is that they're wrapped in Michelin Pilot Super Sport tires. You got your bright red caliper with the Toyota Supra badge naming on it, and then of course you're going to get the nice large rotors, the suspension that's been fine-tuned with this vehicle. The one thing I wish Toyota would do is bring a little bit, as I almost get blown away by Mother Nature, the one thing that I wish Toyota would do is add a little bit more personalization capability with the Supra. And what I mean by that is that the new Mustang GT, you could pick different wheels, different wheel colors, even different caliper colors. You don't get that unless you go aftermarket with a new Supra. But definitely Having the skinnier wheel and tire up front is gonna quicken up the steering, but you'll see when we get out back, it gets wider. But you have two 55s up front, which is gonna make this car steer a lot quicker than a Mustang GT. Now, as we rise up and we kind of rotate around, the overall dimensions, like I said, the car is lower than a Mustang GT, it's shorter, but what it's got different compared to the Mustang is gonna be horsepower, but we'll get to that in a second once we get underneath the hood. I like the flat black on the mirror caps, little bit of gloss black, and your turn signals nicely blended in. You do have the blacked out A-pillar, and then you're gonna get that unique double bubble roof design that goes cleanly into the rear glass. Of course, from the side, there's a lot more aesthetics going on compared to the Mustang GT, and I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people have been saying the new Mustang GT looks like a Camaro. You're not gonna confuse the Supra with a Camaro. I know that. On the bottom portion, I love that side sill extension, matches nicely with what's at the front of the business. All fully functional, and then at the rear end, you're actually gonna get a wider wheel and tire. So now we're looking at 285 with, to get the power, you do have a limited slip diff, and I do like I said, I think this katana blade style to the wheel looks really sexy. So not only a new wheel, but also the new color. Now, as we wrap it around, you can't deny the sexiness of that flared fender. And then, of course, coming into the rear hatch area, you got that nice kick up, full LED lighting, the GR badge, which stands for Gazoo Racing. They handle WRC efforts, WEC, the World Endurance Championship efforts. Super name. I like the way it pops off with the silver underneath the black. Just that little extra touch. And then down below, this freaking rear diffuser is right off of a race car. You got that nice aluminum tip, round opening. You got your reverse LED lights, really clean in the center section. One exhaust on each side with that diffuser. But why don't we go ahead, let's pop the hood and talk horsepower numbers between this and the Mustang GT. All right, guys, we got the hood popped open. You do have hood struts, and I do like the way the hood wraps over on top of the fenders. Gives it a nice extra wide opening. Now, underneath the hood, you're gonna see a lot of plastic. You got that large plastic cover. It is tasteful, but definitely a BMW sourced item with that Toyota badge. What are we looking at? We're looking at that 3-liter turbocharged inline 6, a straight 6, putting out 382 horsepower, 368 pound-feet of torque. This car is now mated to a 6-speed manual or an 8-speed automatic. 0 to 60, if you know how to do the dance, 3.8 seconds. Top speed is governed to 161 miles an hour. The car only weighs 3,300 pounds. MPGs in the city, 19. MPGs on the highway, 27. Now, if you compare this to the upcoming Mustang GT, that car will now have 480 horsepower. You could get a 10-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual. The thing is that that car weighs more. So you're looking almost 3,900 pounds compared to 3,300 pounds. And that's why 0 to 60 is very, very similar between the two cars. But obviously we'll take this on the twisty bits to see how the handling goes. But why don't we go ahead? We talked about underneath the hood, you got that bracing and everything. Why don't we fire it up and hear what this thing sounds like? Guys, we're inside this 2023 GR Supra with the manual transmission. I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, it's awesome that you decided to kind of talk about the Mustang GT because I'm on the fence. I've always wanted a Supra. The one thing that was holding me back is I didn't want an 8-speed automatic. I like to road through my own gears, but I'm also digging that new Mustang GT, especially the S650. How much is this GR Supra? Very good question. The way that this one is optioned is right at $57,000. Depending on how you option a Mustang GT, it'll get close to $57,000, that's for sure. But let's see what you get for the money and how it compares to the door panels. I love the clean style. You can't deny that. Soft touch material throughout. You got the JBL sound system. You do have some gloss black around the window switchgear, but the good news is it's got a metal flake to it, so it tends to hide the fingerprints really well. Armrest is nice and soft, a little contrast stitching, and then a very, very small door pocket. Maybe one Chipotle burrito, but you're gonna have to go very minimal on what you put in that burrito. I would probably go for 2 tacos from Chipotle if you wanna be smart. Now going from the door panel to the dash, soft touch material, the stitching, you could definitely feel the BMW in here, but I'm not too sure if that's always necessarily a bad thing. Infotainment system, it is that floating iPad style. I know how some people feel about it. I promise you, it's not in your line of sight, especially if you're doing a track day or going down the twisty bits. It is an 8.8-inch system. Now, if you're comparing this to the new Mustang GT, which if you haven't seen my review, I'll leave the link, my walk-around review of that vehicle at the end of this one. It now has screens that are very similar to what you would find in a Mercedes, larger than 8.8 inches, so it wins in size. I don't know if I'm digging the stuck-on screen. This, I could kind of live with, just because it's separate, but the other two, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what you think, but you got all of your navigation and everything. Throw it into reverse. There's your backup camera, very, very clear resolution, and obviously you got that sensing protection all the way around. And then you're right back into neutral, you hit home, and there you go. What's nice is it's a very intuitive system, so all touchscreen. You want the map, you got the map. Working your way down, you got an aluminum start-stop button. You do have heated seats, no ventilated seats, dual climate control, wireless charging, love the carbon fiber, and yes, that's a BMW iDrive control knob, but this is where the specialness is in all of this. This is that 6-speed manual transmission with the GR badge. They actually shortened the height of the shift lever, and they made it perfect to where when you go into first gear, second, third, if you notice, my hand gets nowhere near the AC controls. So they did that on purpose. Plus, underneath all of this, in the box itself, in the gearbox itself, they developed ratios specific for the GR Supra. So it's not like they just snagged it from BMW. You do have a sport mode button. It's easy, you just turn it on in sport, or you take it out of sport. That's all I need. 2 cup holders, no actual storage here. There's a little cubby for some Jolly Ranchers, maybe some sour apple, some cherry. You know what I miss? I miss the Jolly Rancher sticks. Those were the bomb, especially those smaller ones. I remember back in high school, kids used to buy them for freaking nickel and sell them for a quarter. Talk about capitalism. What else we got in here? Got space for a garage door opener, seats, the leather, nice soft, the stitching. I love the bolstering, not too crazy. It is a power seat for the passenger and a power seat for the driver. It's tight when you get in, and I know some people are saying I can't do it, it's too tight in here. Once you drive it for a while, it may surprise you. I say give it a try, see what you think. But why don't you come over to the business end? I want to show you behind the steering wheel of this GR Supra. All right guys, behind the business end, you can see how the roof curves down. It does make it a little difficult to get in and out. You'll definitely want to be careful, especially when you're wearing a helmet at a track day. You do have a nice large aluminum sill plate with that Toyota Supra name. And then look at what we got. The triple pedals have made a return to the Supra: clutch, brake, and throttle. You do have automatic rev match downshifting, which you could turn off. I like the dead pedal. I just wish they would put some aluminum on that as well. That would have just kind of made a cohesive design. Seat controls, easy to get to, 2 memory seat settings. And then the one thing I don't love is the steering wheel. I don't mind the thickness of it. It's this horn button. It just reminds me of a bumper car from when I was a kid. So something I'm definitely gonna zonk, but it is manual tilting and telescoping steering wheel. And then you do have that large digital display, which like I said, changes when you go from sport to non-sport, sport to non-sport. And you can see how the tachometer there works nicely in the center. And we have a head-up display. But like I said, the way that it's arranged, this is more familiar to me, and I like this more than what is in the new Mustang GT. But why don't we go ahead, let's check out cargo, because I'm yearning for some on throttle. Let's get to it. All right guys, cargo area time. Now you may not think that because this is a smaller rear wheel drive sports car that there's not any room in the back. It's gonna surprise you. So we're gonna pop the rear hatch, you lift it up, you're actually gonna get 10 cubic feet of space. May not sound like a lot, but it's quite usable. But if we're comparing this to even the current Mustang GT, we are lacking in cubic feet of space. But what's nice is I'm gonna have Steven kind of come back and show you that you do get that aluminum bracing for the rear shock top mounts from one side to the other. So we're stiffening up the front, we're stiffening up the rear, and you got the ability to go get some groceries with this vehicle. Just not as many groceries as a Mustang GT. But why don't we go ahead, let's get down to the things that mean most to us. Not about eating, it's about rolling through the gears. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go on throttle in this Supra. All right guys, we're inside this 2023 Toyota GR Supra with the manual transmission. I have it in sport mode, that's all you really gotta do. But we are gonna see how this drives through my local twisty bits and compare it to a Mustang GT as much as we can. If you're ready, I'm ready. On throttle, here we go, yeah! Chirping tire's a happy tire. Nice. I tell you, the straight six pulls so strong. Brakes feel good. Look at this, look at the grip. Nice. All the way out. Woo! I tell you, she pulls hard all the way to that 7,000 RPM red line. I love how intuitive the steering is. The steering is so much quicker than your Mustang GT. Currently, it's gonna be interesting to see what Ford does with the S650, but let's just use some common sense here. This weighs 3,300 pounds. Add another 500, 600 pounds on top of that. It's not gonna be as quick when it comes to the steering. Inside, the seats are comfy, they're not overly bolstered. Once you get in, I tell this to everybody, the low roof and the smaller windshield, it really doesn't bother me. You don't even realize it. Like when you're doing the business through the twisty bits, you don't even realize it. Now, there is quite a bit of blind spot area, but use your mirrors, turn your head. That's what they're there for. I think we sometimes rely a little too much on cameras to do all the looking for us. I think the biggest difference is gonna be on the level of fit, feel, and finish in here. Very, very tight, very high-end material everywhere you touch. And when it comes to the 6-speed, I love how crisp the engagement is. It's a little bit, I hate to use this word, rubbery when you're in the neutral area and going from gear to gear, but other than that, the engagement is really, really nice, and the automatic rev match downshift does a super fantastic job. Another thing I'm not totally in love with is that sound. Getting pumped in through the speakers, it's a little bit too loud for my taste. But other than that, I mean, the car just feels like it's part of you. And I really like that. It doesn't feel overly too big. And that's the thing is, in a Mustang, larger vehicle, it doesn't feel like it's as wrapped around you as much. Clutch engagement is pretty good. It's a little different, but you just got to get used to it. But here we go, on throttle, yeah! Chirping second. Love the way this thing just builds boost. Look at this. The grip from the front end is fan-freaking-tastic. Back end grip is good. I love the balance. That feels so good. It feels that good. And I think that's another thing, that when you're in a Mustang GT, and let's be honest, you know, we know that the underpinnings of the S650 will be very similar to the S550. And I've had a lot of time behind the wheels of those. It just, the way the front of the car speaks with the back of the car and then transmits all of that through the chassis, through the steering, makes you really know what's going on and how much grip you have. Another thing that I like is that the traction control really works with you, not against you. In a lot of cars, traction control tends to cut power, but what this does is it actually leans out the power a little bit, but allows you to still go about your business without it being herky-jerky. The dash is simple and clean. I know exactly what's going on at all times, and that's another thing that I'm curious with this new S650 and the new dash. Now, of course, there's no replacement for displacement, and that 5-liter engine is a sweetheart of an engine in the Mustang GT, but this turbo does a pretty darn good job. Second gear, are you ready? On throttle, here we go. Pulls, pulls, pulls. Nice. On those brakes. God, the front grip is phenomenal. Here we go. Yeah, just attack the corners like a freaking ninja. And the power delivery, it really ejects you nicely out of each corner. Now, of course, you're not gonna have that steam engine low down torque like you get in a naturally aspirated V8. And with 480 horsepower and more torque than this vehicle, obviously, we're not gonna have that pull, but it does a damn good job staying in the power band. And like I said, Toyota engineers really worked on the gear set ratios for this box to be specific and unique to the Supra. But like I was saying, clutch engagement is it's a little different, but you'll get the hang of it just like anything else. I would like a little bit shorter throw from the transmission. I think that I like like every time you get into a different gate of a different gear, it feels good, but just a little bit shorter throw. A little bit shorter throw, but I love the height of it, and it's very smooth. It's just a pumped-in sound. And it's a shame because the exhaust, you heard it, it sounds really, really good. But the visibility is great. You see the peaks of your two fenders. That gives you a good visual reference point. And I tell you, it's gonna be interesting to see what the new Mustang GT interior is all about, especially with the 2 screens and especially with all the personalization. You know, that's one thing, like I was telling you, on the outside, you can't personalize this. Same thing on the inside. But on the Mustang GT, you'll have different types of seats, different steering wheel, different stitching. I wish Toyota would do a little bit of that with the Supra. But personally, I don't mind the color combination whatsoever, just so we're all on the same page. But I tell you, it's one of those cars that until you get behind the wheel, it's gonna surprise you. I mean, it really, really is, especially if you've been one of those haters, you know, Gen 4. Well, guess what? Look at a Gen 3, look at a Gen 2. Get back and talk to me. Supras were not this crazy performance vehicle, really, until the 4th Gen. And to be honest with you, when they stopped making them here in the United States and selling them, you know, in the United States, you know, people had forgotten about them for the most part until, obviously, the Fast and the Furious franchise But you know what? Like all good things must come to an end. We got to wrap this one up, but I got one more on-throttle experience for you. If you're ready, I'm ready. Chirping tire's a happy tire. On-throttle, here we go, yeah! What's great is you're never gonna miss third gear. Second to third is phenomenal. And the brakes, I'm telling you, especially the chassis, very stable under hard braking. But I love the front end grip. It's like you just attack. And you just pull all the way to 7,000. Breathe the throttle. Nice, look at that. Just that sound I could do without. And to be honest with you, even though that we had that little bump that we hit in the road, the suspension is really not that stiff. You know, it's funny. I'm glad I brought that up, because one thing that I've noticed compared to when we drove this on the track at Miller Motorsports Park a few months ago is that the nose does come up a bit. I mean, watch, I'll show you real quick. It does come up a little too much when you go on throttle. Watch, I'm not gonna go too crazy. On throttle, see how it goes up and then down, up and down. So that, to me, I wish that the suspension was tweaked a little bit more to keep that flatter. But I think it's a compromise, just like anything else, to have a nice ride as you're doing your daily commute, but also have the handling as well. But hopefully, I'm sure that this was some good on-throttle action for you to really get a taste of what this manual Supra is all about. We're gonna get back, even though I don't want to, I wanna keep driving. We're gonna get back and wrap this one up. I'll see you in a Supra second. All right, guys, it's been a slick shifting on throttle kind of day with this GR Supra. I definitely got to thank everybody at Toyota USA for allowing us access to this stratospheric blue manual equipped Supra. Let me know what you think. Are you going to go Supra now that it has a manual transmission available, or are you going to go for that redesigned S650 Mustang GT? Let me know in that comment section. But if you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you, it'll be worthwhile coming back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Radies Rides family. We got to give it up to Stephen Flood. He knows how to drive a manual transmission. Go figure, because he drives a Civic Type R. I hope he knows how to drive a manual transmission, but show him some love in that comment section. Let him know you're glad he's a car enthusiast. Thank you, Stephen, for all that you do. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.